There is a city in India where mythical legends, rituals, temples, and chants blend together in an atmosphere that seems to come from another world. It's a place where the smell of incense mixes with the aroma of funeral pyres that burn endlessly. There, death is not the end, but part of an eternal cycle. No wonder this place is called the spiritual capital of India. But in the midst of this scenery already full of symbolism, something even more striking emerges. Did you know that there is a hotel in India where everyone who stays ends up dying? And if you thought that was bizarre, wait until you meet a sect of religious people who defy all possible taboos. They live in graveyards, have sex in the middle of corpses, drink from human skulls, wear no clothes, and eat human flesh as part of their sacred rituals. It sounds unbelievable, but it's real. Today, Bello Mundo takes you to Varanasi, where you'll get to know the famous death hotel and the sect that calls into question everything you think you know about spirituality. Get ready, because this trip is going to mess with your head. Number 1. Location and geographical data. When you talk about Varanasi, what comes to mind? Millenary temples, riverside rituals, and an atmosphere that seems to float between the sacred and the chaotic. But this city goes far beyond that. Located in the state of Uttar Pradesh in India, Varanasi is one of the oldest cities in the world and one of the 7 most sacred to Hinduism. No wonder it attracts pilgrims from all over the country and the world. There, every street has a story, and every corner can hide a temple, a legend, or an unexpected surprise. And speaking of temples, you can't ignore Kashi Vishwanath, one of the most important in the city, dedicated to the god Shiva. The devotion is so great that, to enter, you have to leave all your belongings outside. No cell phone, no camera. And this only adds to the mystery of what goes on inside. Those who have visited say that the energy is indescribable, but those who haven't are just curious. Another attraction is the Banaras Hindu University. You could say it's a kind of island of peace in the midst of the hurricane that is the bustle of the streets. Walking around the campus is a completely different experience, almost like entering another world. Silence, trees, and an organization that doesn't match the frenetic pace of the city. Now, not everything is dazzling in Varanasi. The city reflects the conditions of Uttar Pradesh, one of India's poorest states. Those who arrive expecting clean and organized streets, as it is a holy city, may be surprised. The contrast is great, and the infrastructure from transportation to accommodation leaves something to be desired in many respects. But that doesn't put the faithful off. For Hinduism, Varanasi is much more than an ancient city. It is seen as the place where the cycle of birth, death, and reincarnation can be broken. And the secret to this lies in the Ganges. Number 2. River Ganges. If you've heard of the Ganges, you probably know that it's one of the most sacred rivers in the world, but also one of the most polluted. The river rises crystal clear in the Himalayas, but as it makes its way to Bangladesh, it gets dirtier and dirtier. Even so, it has never lost its spiritual value. For Hindus, it's more than just a river. It's a living deity. That's why every day thousands of people go to its banks to bathe, believing that it purifies their sins. But for many, the most impressive thing is not the ritual baths. It's the cremation pyres. Number 3. Funeral pyres. If there is one image that remains forever etched in the memory of anyone who visits Varanasi, it is the burning funeral pyres by the river. No matter how much you've heard about it, seeing the fire consuming the bodies up close is a unique experience. The smoke rising into the sky and the crackling sound of the flames give the scene an almost surreal tone. And the most impressive thing? The fire never goes out. This eternal fire is at the heart of the Manikarnika Ghat, Varanasi's main crematorium. According to tradition, it has been burning for centuries, uninterruptedly, and keeping these flames burning is a sacred duty. It is at this point that life and death meet in a raw and symbolic way. But why does this happen? In Hinduism, it is believed that the soul needs to detach from the body as soon as possible after death in order to continue the cycle of reincarnation. And fire does just that. It speeds up the process, freeing the soul for a new journey. When the ashes are thrown into the Ganges, the ritual is complete. For many, it is the chance to achieve moksha, i.e., the end of the cycle of reincarnations and definitive liberation. The way families face death here is also different from what we are used to. There is no mourning, screaming, or despair. On the contrary, the focus is on the passing of the spirit. When a body is taken to the crematorium, it is covered in colorful fabrics and adorned with flowers. The procession makes its way through the streets to the Ghat, while family members recite mantras and sacred songs, all to ensure that the loved one has a good spiritual journey. Number 4. The Ganga Arti ceremony. As night falls, Varanasi changes scene. The flames of the pyres still burn, but now attention turns to another spectacle, the Ganga Arti ceremony. This ritual is a tribute to the goddess Ganga, the personification of the river, and symbolizes spiritual purification and the victory of light over darkness. It is at this time that the banks of the Ganges are transformed into a veritable open-air stage. Every day, hundreds, sometimes thousands, of devotees and tourists gather to watch the ritual. And it's not just watching, it's feeling. The smell of incense invades the air, the sound of bells and chants fills the atmosphere, and in the distance, you can already see the flaming torches in the hands of the priests. The scene is magical. The priests take charge with precise choreographed movements. During the ritual, oil lamps are lit and offered to the river, and flowers are thrown into its waters, symbolizing devotion and gratitude. The ceremony represents the 5 elements: space, wind, fire, water, and earth, integrating them into an act of worship. Whether you're a devotee or a passing tourist, it's almost impossible not to be moved by this scene. It's impossible not to be moved by the sight of so much devotion and faith gathered in one place. Number 5. Sadu. After talking about faith and devotion, it's impossible not to mention the sadhus. They are the so-called holy men of India, known for living a life of total renunciation of the material world. But what exactly makes someone a sadhu? The answer is not so simple. These men give up everything: family, possessions, comfort, and even their own identity. Many abandon their baptismal name and take on a spiritual name, usually linked to a Hindu deity. They have no home, no job, and live off food donations from those who believe in the spiritual strength they carry. Being a sadhu is not for everyone. They isolate themselves in forests, caves, or mountains, especially in the Himalayas, where they face extreme cold and hunger without complaint. But isolation isn't the only challenge. Complete detachment from the material world is the biggest obstacle. It's not enough to give up possessions. You have to give up your ego, your desires, and your ambitions. It's an absolute renunciation. The goal? To achieve moksha, the final liberation from the cycle of reincarnations. And to achieve this, they follow the shortest, but also the most difficult, path within Hindu spirituality, the path of total renunciation. For them, the material world is an illusion, and therefore everything physical can and must be left behind. No wonder they are respected as true sages in Indian society. Their dedication and endurance go to extremes that seem impossible. An example of this is Amar Bharati, who took a decision that few would have the courage to imitate: to keep his right arm raised all his life. In 1973, Amar was an ordinary bank clerk. He had a steady job, was married, and the father of 3 children. But one day, he decided that none of this made sense anymore. He gave it all up and dedicated himself to the worship of Shiva, one of the main Hindu deities. To demonstrate his faith, he made a radical decision. He raised his right arm and never lowered it again. According to his own testimony, the pain was unbearable at first, but after 2 years, his arm was completely atrophied. From then on, he no longer felt anything. Today, his arm remains raised as a symbol of faith and resistance. Nor is this the only example of an extreme ordeal. Many sadhus spend years with one leg bent, without putting it down, or meditate for days on end. To outsiders, this may seem crazy, but for them it is a path to spiritual enlightenment. Number 6. The Agoris. But Varanasi's spirituality is not all about serenity. If the sadhus symbolize peaceful renunciation, the Agoris represent the darker, more enigmatic side of the quest for enlightenment. Known for defying all social taboos, they follow a philosophy that many cannot understand, and perhaps don't even want to. For the Agoris, there is no such thing as pure or impure. For them, good and evil are just human concepts that don't apply to the spiritual world. And that's where it gets serious. If you've ever seen pictures of naked men covered in ashes and holding skulls, you may have been looking at an Agori. And you should know that these ashes, not just any ashes from a bonfire you see, are crematorium ashes. In other words, human ashes. For them, human ashes symbolize the end of the ego and the recognition that we will all return to dust. And the extreme practices don't stop there. The Agoris don't just meditate in crematoria. They eat, sleep, have sex among corpses, and live there. They believe that the human body, like that of any animal, is just matter. That's why they make no distinction between human flesh and animal flesh. For them, meat is meat. There are reports of Agoris using skulls as bowls and eating human remains. And as shocking as this may seem, for them, it's just another way of breaking through the barrier of fear and impurity. But it's not all about extreme practices. They also use psychotropic substances, such as hemp or cannabis, in meditation rituals. The aim is to expand consciousness and reach deeper levels of spiritual perception. According to them, it is in this state of altered consciousness that one can see the world as it really is, without illusions, without separations, without barriers. Unlike other religious orders, the Agoris have no central leadership or strict rules. Each member lives independently and, more often than not, isolates themselves from the rest of society. They rarely meet or organize themselves as a group. Despite all the controversy surrounding them, they are not just men who live among the dead. In recent years, many have taken up social work. In Varanasi, they take care of people with leprosy, a disease that has historically caused many to be abandoned by their families because they are seen as unclean. But if you think that this softens the world's view of them, you're wrong. To the outside world, they are nothing more than a mixture of mystery and fear. Even in a country like India, where religious diversity is respected, the Agoris are still viewed with trepidation. After all, it's not every day that you see a person covered in crematorium ashes, with a skull in their hands and a portion of human flesh on their plate. And if you find that surprising, wait until you see the next facet of Varanasi. Because in this city, the unexpected is never ending. Number 7. The Hotel to Die For, Mukti Bhawan. Varanasi never ceases to amaze. Between rituals by the Ganges and Sadus who renounce the world, the city still holds a place as unique as it is disturbing. A hotel where many enter with life, but leave without it. Welcome to the Mukti Bhawan, the hotel to die in, where check-in has a certain date, but check-out, well, most of the time it only happens one way. The name was not chosen by chance. It means House of Liberation, and that's exactly what the place promises: ultimate liberation. Here, the aim is neither to relax nor to stay for a vacation. Those who enter seek only death. People travel here from all over India. Many arrive by ambulance already in critical condition, while others show up just because they feel the time has come. Some say they received the call in a dream, as if a higher power had said, "It's time to go." The rules are very specific and, believe me, strict. The maximum stay is 15 days. If the person doesn't die within that period, they have to release the room to the next person in line. And don't think the queue is short. The rooms are simple: a bed, a small table, and space for the relatives accompanying the guest. Yes, because no one stays alone. You have to be accompanied by family members who will help you with whatever you need, including the final rituals. Everyone is treated with respect and dignity. After all, it's the last journey. The place is non-profit. It maintains itself thanks to donations and a small symbolic fee charged for the use of electricity. There are no luxuries, but there is faith. And perhaps this is most valuable for those who are about to leave. In addition to the guests, there are the spiritual guardians. They are responsible for ensuring that the rituals are carried out, accompanying the families in their final moments. For some people, it may seem like a sad place, but for those who follow Hinduism, it's a unique chance to find ultimate peace. So much power and symbolism in this place ended up inspiring cinema. In 2017, the movie Hotel Salvation was released. The story follows a man who, after dreaming of his own death, decides to stay at the hotel. He is accompanied by his son, who at first doesn't accept the idea. But along the way, father and son come to understand together the true meaning of life, death, and family. The movie was so successful that it took the concept of the hotel to die in to the world. Before that, few people outside India knew that such a place existed. But not only that, it also brought a more human and sensitive look at the relationship between spirituality and the end of life, showing how guests, their relatives, and the staff deal with this moment. That's why, for many who come to Varanasi, the Mukti Bhawan isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new journey. Now tell me, what struck you most about Varanasi? Did you already know about this city so full of contrasts and spirituality, or were you surprised by it all? If you enjoyed this journey through one of the oldest and most fascinating cities in the world, don't forget to like and follow the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you'll be able to follow the next stories that are already in the pipeline and promise to take you even further. Thank you for embarking on this journey with us. See you in the next video.